What we're going to look at in this video is how to install armored cable. Okay, armored cable, more affectionately, more commonly known as BX. Okay, in the code book, it is referred to as AC. In the field, electricians just call it BX. What is it? It looks like this. So this is our armored cable. Okay, so if you are installing, the work that we've done in the lab so far is installing wire in open walls, okay, where drywall is going to be placed on top of the walls and conceal the wire inside the walls, and so that's what provides it with its mechanical protection. If you are installing a wire on the surface of the wall, so you're coming in after the fact to add a plug or a circuit or whatever it might be, and you're just putting it on the surface of the wall, running it along the baseboard maybe, or whatever the case may be, that wire requires some mechanical protection. And so BX, or AC, is going to be the wire of choice because you can see that there is a metal jacket protecting the conductors. Okay, so in terms of building the circuit, the work is the very same, right? Once you're inside the box, you're left with a bond wire and a white wire and a black wire, and so nothing changes in terms of the circuit itself. What changes is how we get the wire into the box, primarily, is what I want to focus on. Okay, but first I want to talk about something that's referred to as a radii of bend. Okay, and what that speaks to is how much you can bend this wire. So there's a fair bit of tension there as I do this. Okay, and how much are you allowed to bend that safely? Because the problem is that as I bend it too much, I run the risk of, so this jacket, let me just grab a piece of it here. Okay, it's just coiled up. Actually, I'm going to work with this piece right here. So if I can uncoil this. Wow, I noticed this morning when I grabbed this. This is a brand new roll out of my truck. And this is coiled really, really tightly. Okay. There, I'm almost getting into it now. There we go. So we've got it apart. So here's what I wanted to show you is you can create like a helix. There, that's what I was trying to do. Okay, so that is what it looks like. And in attempting to do this, I think you saw possibly what the issue is that when I take this wire and I start to bend it, and I continue to bend it, there reaches a point, and you see there, and in terms of the limits of the radii of bends, and you can go to the code book and find out exactly what they are. We're probably at the limit right there. I can pretty much feel it. But what's going to happen is when I go any further, okay, I'm going to damage the insulation, and it actually breaks. Not the insulation, but the metal jacket, and the coil has popped out of itself. And so it no longer provides the appropriate mechanical protection. You have damaged the outside jacket. You can see that it's now got a kink in it. I cannot get it to go back together. Actually, I did manage to get it to go back together, but it is now compromised. All right, because now there's no effort involved in me once again kinking it out of shape. Okay, so that's the conversation about the radii bend. You've got to be really careful when you turn that around a corner that you don't turn it too tight. You can't, because you will damage the jacket. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want to outline. You've got to be careful with that. Now, I had intended before I started the video to check my code book. I've forgotten. I think, and you have to go to the code book to check this. But what the code rule requires, I'm stuck on the number 6, and so I think 6 is the appropriate number in terms of this. What are you talking about, Dave? 6. Okay. Let me draw that bend. Okay, so there it is. So first thing you need to know is that diameter of the wire itself, because that's the number that you're going to use to figure this out. And then here's the center of that bend, and here's the radius of that bend. Okay, so when they talk about the radii of bends, okay, radii, it's just plural for radius. So the question is, oops, that's supposed to be an R, not an N. What does R equal? Okay, so this is R, the radius of the bend. This is D, the diameter of the conductor itself, and I'm pretty sure R must be at least times 6d. So this radius right here must be at least 6 times greater than this diameter. Now, I'm not 100% certain about that because I didn't check before I started the video, but that is the idea. There's actually a number, you can figure it out, you can do the math to determine how tightly you are allowed to bend the wire safely without damaging the jacket. Okay? Radii of bends. Alright, back to the actual work. So I have now destroyed this, so I'm going to cut this off so we can start over. Okay, and your side cutters, this is where a good quality pair of tools is helpful. If your side cutters aren't exceptionally strong, they're really going to struggle to do that right there. Okay, so let's start over. We need to get this inside the box. Okay, so we've gone on and on and on about the conversation with NMD, with the residential wiring, about whether we should strip the outer jacket off before or after we put it inside the box. Okay, we can have that debate endlessly. You know how I feel about it. There's no debate here. Okay, quite simply, and you're going to find out why when we get into this work, we have to do this ahead of time. Okay, we don't have any other option. We must. Okay, so we've got to get a tail, okay, and make sure, here's another conversation where make sure you leave yourself lots. Alright, there's no loops here because there's no opportunity to pull this into the box after the fact. Alright, we get one shot at this, so we better get it right the first time, which means I want at least that much wire, probably a little bit more. Okay, more, much better than less in this situation when we are stripping the outer jacket off of this wire. Okay, now, there are essentially two methods. First, I'm going to show you the right way, and then I'm going to show you what everybody does. Okay? So the right way is to use a hacksaw to cut this. Okay? Now, in fact, I don't own a hacksaw anymore. I've got my one-handed Sawzall. Okay, nice small. I'm gonna boost the Milwaukee tools here for a second. I'm more in favor of the rigid tools as a general statement, but the rigid one-handed Sawzall is really heavy and awkward. This is so perfectly balanced. It's beautiful. Anyway, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take the blade and we're going to put it on a 45-degree angle with the spiral of the jacket. Okay, so I'm going to rest the saw there. If I came over here, I'm cutting kind of almost with it. I've got to go across it on a 45. Okay, I'm hoping I can do this in midair while you guys are watching. All right, so it's not a cut like this. Okay, it's a cut across this way. So because the spiral is working its way up this way, I'm not going with the spiral, I'm going against the spiral on a 45. So you can see that this is not exactly an easy task. The fact that I'm trying to do it in midair is making it worse. What I want to do is I want to stop short of cutting all the way through for fear of cutting the conductors in behind. So I'm almost through. At this point, hopefully a bit of a twist, and there it goes, and it snaps free. Okay, so it's broke off, and now I can just slide that off. This really is wound very tight. Wow. Notice inside there's a piece of paper. Okay, I'm just going to tease that free. And because there are lots of sharp edges down here, it should be fairly easy to get that paper across a sharp edge and peel it off nice and close. Okay, there we go. So we've cut the outer jacket off. We can see we've got our black, white, and our bare inside. Now, the next thing is the sharp edge. I just commented about it, right? I used it to break the paper off, but now there's a real possibility that this sharp edge could dig into the insulation, okay? Especially over time. Once you squeeze this in tight, and if there's any potential for vibration, certainly there's going to be expanding and contracting due to temperature changes. Okay, that sharp edge could potentially work its way into that conductor. And so what we need to do is we need to install a little piece of red plastic, which we call an anti-short. Okay, so this is supposed to combat against that potential short. Okay, now, Lots of people just do this. Let's try to get it in place. There, it's kind of sort of there. All right, well, that's pathetic. Try again. Okay, this is actually going to be a real struggle, I can tell, because this is wound so tight. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to wind this backwards. Okay, so by twisting the jacket, I don't know if you can tell, but it was up here, and I've now spun it back to here. Okay, so I've spun the jacket back. Now I'm going to place the endie short, so it's got a hole in it, so I can actually get it on the wire, slide it down into place. I'm going to try to push it down inside the jacket a little bit, and then I'm going to let the jacket spin back up on top of the endie short. There we go. So we now have that piece of plastic really, really well wedged in between the conductors and this outer jacket. Okay, putting a nice cap on this sharp edge that I created when I cut the outer jacket. Okay, and there we have it. We are ready to put this inside the box. Okay, I'm going to cut this off, give myself a little bit of length to work with. Okay. I'll have to build a college for a meter of wire. Okay, so let's do this again. Let's do it the way that everybody does it. Okay, that's the proper way to do it. The use of a hacksaw or a handsaw is absolutely what is recommended. Okay, however, you can see that it's a bit of a struggle. Okay, and so I will show you the incorrect way. All right, and depending on the job sites that you end up on, okay, understand that many people may allow you to do this, but certain people may absolutely prohibit this particular procedure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go back to the whole radii of bends conversation, and I'm going to intentionally kink the wire. So let's pick a point, and I feel I need about this much tail, and so I'm going to go here and I'm going to kink the wire. Okay, so here's the reason that this is inappropriate, is because there is the concern that in the process of damaging the outer jacket, we may damage the conductors inside as well. Okay, and that's the reason why this is the improper way to do it. But you can see now, as I put a bit of a spin on this, look at what happens. When I spin that, the jacket starts to lift up away from the conductor, and that's going to allow me to get in here with my side cutters and snip this off. Okay, and peel that off. Now, another reason why this is considered the wrong way to do it is because look at what I'm left with. Can you see that great big, ugly, out of control outer coating? So now that I've got the bulk of it out of the way, I can get back in here with my side cutters, and I'm going to snip this. And here's where I'm going to get that 45-degree cut, which is going to match what we did with the saw. And on a nice 45-degree angle, as tight as I can get it here, I'm going to snip that clean, and now we have a beautiful cut. Okay, so we are very much to the end product that we were going for. Okay, but we did cause a little bit of damage to the wire potentially when we did it. Now, we certainly should not have damaged the wire. You can see that while my paper is a little bit scarred, it's still pretty much intact here as well. And I can just pull that off and out of the way. Okay, got a little bit of paper sitting there. Hopefully it's not in our way later. All right, but now, once again, we just have to put an endie short on here. So I grab my endie short. That's typically my third hand. And I'm going to twist this down, and you can see the kink in my wire. So clearly we did kink the wire in the process of doing this. Okay. Get a little more of that paper out of the way. I felt like it was in my way. Slide the endie short on here and push it in as far as it'll go, and then let the jacket come back up, and there we go. Once again, we have a finished product to equal our original finished product. Okay, give myself a little bit more wire. Okay, so I've got two, okay, built in the two different methods, the right way and the way that everybody does it. And now let's look at the two ways that we might enter a box. Okay, so I've got a device box here. I feel like I need to back this off a little bit. I'm going to shove the wire up in through there. Whoops. And what we need to do, very much like with the NMD, we have to ensure that that bracket is going to be hanging on to the outer jacket and not the inner conductors. Okay? So, once I tighten this down, I'll bring it into the camera so you can see that we can just start to see the BX inside the box. And most importantly, the inspector, when he comes to do the rough-in inspection, can see that we used an anti-short. Okay, it's red on purpose, makes it easy to see. There it is. Clearly we did not forget to install the anti-short. Okay, now the other possibility, and we had the option in this box, which is why I grabbed it for the purpose of our demonstration, but lots of surface boxes do not have these brackets to hold the wires as they enter the box. So we have to go about this differently. So we've got a knockout on the side of the box, just like we do on the side of our panels. And we're going to get that knockout out of our way. And then we can install a connector. Okay, so we call this, it's a 1/2 inch box connector is the official term, but we call it an L16. And you've seen these, I think, probably at the panels. When you put the wire in the panel, you probably go in securing that wire with an L16. So the connector goes on the outside, the lock nut goes on the inside. You've got to put some effort into making sure that this doesn't get cross-threaded. Once it's started, you can spin it on there fairly quickly. Oh, no, I think I did get it cross-threaded. Again, doing this floating in midair is a little bit of a chore. There we go. Now it's not cross-threaded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten it as much as I can with my fingers. Okay, and then I intentionally left this so it's kind of off to the side. I'll finish trying to hold the lock nut in place. I'll finish tightening it by spinning this one forward. Okay, probably I don't want it like that. I'm going to try to get it a little bit further. Just like that is good. Okay, and then I can put my wire inside there. Just like this. Now, in this case, we're actually holding the wire out here, okay? So we don't need to worry about holding the wire on the inner conductors or the outer jacket. We're definitely going to be holding the outer jacket. What we need to have happen, look at what we've got on the inside. Notice that there's this little tab here on the anti-short. It's necessary that that little tab appears inside the box right there. Okay, so once again, when the inspector comes to see your installation, he can tell, okay, what's going on inside that L16. He can see that you used an anti-short because there it is, just poking through inside the box. Okay, and so that's how we do our BX installation. Now we've got a couple of wires inside the box, and we can do whatever it is we choose to do with those wires in there. Whether this is, it's an octagon box, so this must be a light fixture. So we've got a wire coming in to feed the light fixture and a wire going out to feed the next light fixture. Okay, all fed with BX. Okay, that's kind of the end of today's lesson. That's really what I want you guys to know. We are not going to have an opportunity to actually practice this skill in the lab. Okay, probably for the best. We might run out of band-aids as you guys try to use some hacksaws to cut the BX. So maybe it's for the best that we're not going to be doing that. Again, like I say, in terms of building something with BX, it would be the same something that we've been building anyway. Switches, plugs, lights, very same circuits. Okay, it's a little bit different skill because we're using a different type of wire. All right, that's the end of today's lesson. Until next time.